answer a question. Whoops.
I think we're having some technical difficulties.
Yep, I think that the recording stopped, and so I just restarted it, and
Oh, you know, it probably stopped. It looks like we've lost Nadia, and she said that she
Not-
was going to have some difficulties.
yeah, so she did. So Nadia's coming back, and I restarted the recording. Thank you,
So it'll
Steph.
be a bit of a gap there. Steph, so that as you talked about, we weren't able to do the in-field training that we had hoped to do at the end of January, and we were looking for an alternative site. And I know that it's really difficult. We can't get to maybe the estuary at this time. There was an alternative site. Does that look like that's promising that we might be able to get there, or what?
No, I don't know if you saw the email the other day from Christina. Her uncle works at the sand plant. And so the road, like from the gate, from the county park gate in that really flat area is completely flooded. In fact, I saw a piece of farm equipment stuck in the water there.
And I think Alan has something to add to this, but I was thinking maybe there was a farm road that would go out to that site that we could use. But Alan, you have an update for us on that? You got your hand up?
No, maybe you can get your question answered first.
Oh, okay.
There are private farm roads that are that lead to upstream areas of Orchid Creek, but we don't have permission to take. I don't have permission as an individual to go on that property, and we were hoping that the county area would be accessible because that's an easier access request.
Yeah, I guess that was my question, was around some of the county areas. I know that there are smaller creeks that do eventually run into that area. And I've also just seen kind of even in the Orchid area, just all of the ag that has been completely flooded. I don't know to what extent this project the county is really looking into that water quality, you know, like the ag runoff or like the flooding on ag land. So that's kind of like a bigger county issue, but I was wondering kind of how this project could, you know, take some important data points, especially right now after a storm. I don't know how all of the flooding would impact our ability to actually be on the water. So, you know, not being able to be in the water itself, you know, I feel like there should be some more options kind of on foot. I know Christina had said that her and her uncle have been able to access the site, the estuary on foot, and that might be an option, not being able to drive around. So would there be county land or the estuary that we could access on foot?
I think eventually we could. My understanding is that it's over a mile hike into the estuary, and there is equipment involved. And so that's literally a lift of weight to either carry or somehow transport into the site. The last communication I saw between the county and the regional water board was that the county didn't even want the water board to walk in there yet. And so until we get a little bit more indication of willingness of the county to allow us to pass, we're going to have to, you know, literally pass onto the land and walk to the estuary. We're going to need to find alternate solutions. But I'm totally open to hearing, you know, if folks have relationships with landowners who own along Orchid Solomon Creek. Great. If there is a publicly accessible area, generally the ditches alongside roads can be accessed. But the idea of doing the estuary water quality monitoring is that we wouldn't be visible necessarily to the ag field owners. Not that we want to do anything, you know, over or covert, but standing next to the road, next to Orchid Solomon Creek with a group of 30 people taking water quality monitoring is not what they signed up for. And so, you know, if that were to evolve, we would need to really be clear about what we're doing and why we're there, which I'm not opposed to. It could be really cool to see what we get in terms of temperature and dissolved oxygen and connectivity in those areas. A lot of that data is already established through the regional board. That's how the total maximum daily load numbers came about, by way of about 15 years worth of water quality monitoring at specific sites in Orchid Solomon Creek. But it could be used for, you know, training citizens as well. I'm not opposed to that. So if you have relationships and want to explore that, let me know, and please do.
I was hoping that accessing the estuary from the cleanup site on the other side of the estuary would be possible, but the last thing I heard was it might be a bit of a hike, and I haven't heard anything beyond that, so I don't know. I'd be happy to go out there and explore how big of a hike that is if somebody has the contacts that could get us there. I don't know. I don't have that.
I don't. I think the company that's doing the remediation is called Tri Hydro. So, you know, any of us could make a cold call and see, you know, where that leads.
I actually was able to, myself and Christina Hernandez, we were able to join the Dunes. It's like some sort of Dunes ecological collective, but they did a tour of the restoration site. So we were given a tour by Tri Hydro just a few weeks ago.
Oh, great.
So I could reach out to them just to see if they could give us a contact. Someone else that I know is James Carlson. He's a geologist, hydrologist. He used to work for the county of Slough for hydrology, and has done some well siting nearby. So if you think that private land or private farms might do well, you know, I could potentially ask him, although maybe it's just like underground wells and that's totally different.
That could be.
But he might know of landowners. I don't know anyone else here who knows landowners. And in terms of getting equipment hauled out to the beach, one quick idea that popped up is SB Bike. They're like a local, you know, biking group. Is based out of Santa Maria. I feel like if we were to ask them and explain that we have a lot of equipment that we want to haul out to the beach, right, you know, cautiously, and if we have access, I think that they would be interested in helping us get equipment out there. But again, I think that we would need to wait to have permission.
Yeah.
But Jeannie, I don't know if
You're saying that we would.
I have to
drive
take
up
a
there?
phone call. I'll be right back. I'm sorry.
Okay, so SB Bike might have a bicycle with a little bicycle trailer or something we could use, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And they would be used to it. I feel like they would be used to biking in the sand, hauling something. And they would be down to like support a project like this. So yeah, again, I feel like the access is one issue. I know Christina and her uncle, and I talked to them yesterday. They did say having access on foot is easy. It is possible. So I don't know if we would want a smaller group. I know Jeannie, that you have your hovering thing. And so I don't know if you'd be able to take pictures. I know you already took more pictures, but I know Cause and the youth organizers, they might be interested in a trip out there to see, but maybe a smaller group just to like see how bad it is.
How does this access but on foot work?
I mean, again, the roads are flooded, but you can get to the access on foot. I would ask probably Christina and her uncle, who again works in the area. Now, we don't have permission to be on there, so that is why I'm saying,
Yeah.
you know, we can have a smaller group. And then make sure that we have, that it is accessible.
Yeah.
But because I don't think we'll be able to actually be in the water, because the water is not healthy. The water's not healthy, so I don't know if we'll ever be able to be in the
Let's
water.
go to where the road is flooded and test that water.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if the county doesn't want us there. I think it's going to be hard to do it unless we can go, you know, from the other side with the tri-hydro. I think that's a good avenue to explore if you could contact them, or you say you didn't know a landowner, that's a possibility. If you would check on those two possibilities, maybe we could work out something there.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, I'm trying to, you know, figure out what you guys talk about.
Oh,
But that's okay. You don't need to repeat it. I think in the meantime, most important thing for me is to keep the momentum going and provide alternate activities for the group that was trained, either through field tours of other areas of the watershed, so that we can just help each other increase our knowledge base, and also to maybe do like a part 2 for the water quality monitoring through, you know, another online type training. It's not as good as doing something, you know, out in the field for sure. But maybe there's a particular, I don't know, idea or group of concepts that the group wants to explore more. But I think it's important that we get the group together again soon and just, you know, tell everybody where we're at and get some input and ideas like we're doing now.
I really love the idea of some type of in-field training, visiting other areas to increase the knowledge base. And online would be all right too, but I think the next thing would be nice if we can do something in field, or maybe we do something online followed immediately by something in field. But especially with these rains, maybe we can go someplace where they can actually see the water flowing where it doesn't usually flow.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting idea. So earlier this week, I went up to Wolf Vineyards because I have a very good ongoing relationship with the owner, Jean-Pierre Wolf. And we did some restoration projects there and about 10 years ago and put in some habitat features that have really improved the creek. And there's water in it now. Boy, is there water in it now. And there hasn't been this much water in literally a decade. And I don't know that we would necessarily do water quality monitoring, but we could demonstrate or show where these features are, literally get in the creek and point out what the features are and why they've improved the habitat. And I'm 100% sure that he would welcome a group of us to come on the property. So this is in the Pismo Creek watershed. It's about a half-hour, 40-minute drive from Santa Maria. But really accessible in terms of being able to park cars along the creek and walk along the creek, even in the creek if some people wanted to get really wet. When the flows come down, not in flood stage. So that's an option that we could consider.
Great. I think maybe we should move on from this one now, and maybe Steph, Jeannie, and Alan and I should talk more offline and do some more brainstorming about what to do next. But yeah, and sorry, I don't know why, like the power went out here and then the Wi-Fi is not doing great, but I'm on my phone now, so I think it's working. But yeah, so unless anyone has any I can't see the hands anymore either, but does anyone have anything else they want to say on this topic before we move on?
Erica wrote something in the chat, and
Okay.
maybe you could say what you wrote, Erica.
Yeah, I didn't want to talk over everyone, but yeah, I was thinking that I could possibly check in with Daniel and his youth and, you know, discuss with them about if anyone's interested in coming out to the site and being a part of this project. I know that the youth are also, I think it would be a great opportunity for them to get involved in this, and it also works out for them too, because they can like, put it on their like their resume building as they're applying for colleges. And I think just being involved in a project like this would be really good for them. So I could check in with them and then report back to you all.
That would be great, Erica. And we have been in touch with Daniel, and he was able to convene a group of students over a year ago. Actually, it was during the thick part of the pandemic. And so some of the students have been introduced to the project, but it would be great to just get a re-energized group of students back engaged. So thank you for your offer.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, great. So
Yeah,
our-
thanks, Nadia. We need to make some other conversations outside of this to figure out where we go next. So thank you, Stephanie, for coming and giving us an update. And I'll turn it back to Nadia.
Cool. Yeah, so our next topic is the Solomon Hills update. So this item, we talked about it at our last North County Roundtable, and this item went before the County Planning Commission on Wednesday, yesterday. And I wasn't able to go. I did watch the recording, but Ken was there. So I don't know if, Ken, if you want to give an update about what happened, or I'm also able to.
Well, I can, thank you.
Okay.
So, yeah, the County Planning Commission initiated the project. In a nutshell, it took 3 hours of discussion or of presentations and different people commenting, including us. And so this means that environmental studies will begin on Solomon Hills project, and we might not see it again for months or even years. It's hard to tell, but when environmental studies are done, then we'll see them again. The commission will see them. The commission decided that they didn't want to just punt to the county board of supervisors, which is sort of what their staff recommended, was just to not make a decision, but that they wanted to make a decision. Let's initiate it. It's a decent project. It's worth, all the questions they have will be answered, hopefully, in the environmental studies and so forth. And then, so we'll see it again in the future. And we can all then decide, do we support it or we don't support it? Right now, we couldn't decide because we don't have a lot of information. So they initiated it, and there it goes. We'll hear more later. And I watched the whole thing and participated. So if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to field those.
Yeah, it looks like Pam and then Steph.
Actually, go ahead, Steph. You had your hand up first.
Thank you. So they're going to initiate it, and that means they'll hire a firm to start doing the EIR. So at this point, there is no company even identified for the development of the EIR. Is that right?
I think there are maybe 10 different companies identified as part of the development team, but whether that includes who's going to do the EIR, or is that something that the county hires? I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, the county hires, and then the first step is a scoping meeting, and that's when the county essentially asks the community, what do you think we need to study? And so that's scoping essentially the EIR categories, the typical CEQA categories in
Mhm.
an EIR are then scoped. So that's when you can ask really nitty gritty things like, gee, how will water quality be impacted in Orchid Creek, for example?
Right, yeah, there are so many things that weren't raised. What was all raised were all the people that showed up to support it, because a lot of work was done by the proponent ahead of time last year, because all the letters, almost every letter that was sent in support was addressed to the last year's chairman, not this year's. But this year's chairman, John Park, didn't take umbrage. He said, okay, I read all those letters anyway. So, but anyway, thank you, Steph. That's exactly what'll be happening. So it'll be a long haul.
Yeah.
And, we raised concerns about affordable housing. They said, oh, we're going to have affordable housing. And so we said, we like that, but how is it going to be guaranteed for the long term? That's what we need.
Steph, could you say more? So when this scoping opportunity for public input happens, how is that invitation extended to the public? Through the newspaper or?
Yeah, typically the county is required to notice a scoping meeting. It's a requirement of the CEQA process. But that itself could be years off. I mean, it really
Sure.
is going to depend upon how the county chooses to, look at this timing wise. What else is in the pipeline, for example, how stretched our county planning staff already. So yeah, it has to be noticed. It's a requirement of the law.
So, and the planning staff is stretched and the board is stretched as well with all what they're considering. And this is what the planning commissioners said was, we can decide this, we can initiate this. The staff had recommended just, send it on to the board with your recommendation, but it needs a broader discussion. And I thought it was a good idea. We thought it was a good idea to give the public a better chance to weigh in on whether this should even be advanced to the next stage. Because nobody's heard about it. All the people that the proponents had cultivated, including us, and so we didn't weigh in favor or opposed. We just weighed in as we did. There were so many people, so many organizations that weighed in favor because they had been cultivated. And we thought it would be a better idea. Let's give the public a better chance. And if it goes before the county board instead of just into the planning commission, maybe more people would hear about it and be able to weigh in. Is this something that really ought to be initiated or not? But the commission decided it should be initiated, and this is their duty to decide. And don't weigh the board down, the county board of supervisors, when they're so busy with stuff, and don't weigh them down. We can decide it. So they did. So it's initiated.
I think people have been distracted by Union Valley Parkway, Richard's Ranch, but all of those folks now know about Solomon Hills. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
I think it's also like, I mean, our original letter that SBCAN was going to submit basically did say we see no reason not to initiate the project. And then we saw the staff recommendation and we thought, well, that sounds good to us. That makes sense. But at this point, I think there's enough things to be concerned about, but I think there's enough things to potentially be excited about that it doesn't make sense to say, let's not even do the review. Or at least that's my opinion.
And I share your opinion.
Okay.
We shared that opinion. We were about to send that letter until we saw the county staff report. And then
Right.
I said, let's support that. So I'm good with what the planning commission did. I listened to the whole meeting and I felt like they had good reasons to go ahead, initiate it, and we'll all be able to see a lot more information sometime later. And then we can debate it.
Cliff, go ahead.
Pardon me.
We can't hear you.
Oh, Cliff, you have to unmute.
He did, but he still can't hear him.
Okay.
Try it again. Yeah, go ahead and speak again.
Hmm.
We're not hearing you. I don't know.
Maybe your headphones are plugged in or
your
something.
microphone is.
Ooh.
No, we still can't hear you. You could put your question in the chat, Cliff, if you want. Sorry, so many Zoom troubles lately.
Maybe it's the weather. Maybe
Maybe.
affecting communications.
My Zoom trouble was you couldn't see my face, but you'd have been better off. But now I've got Jeannie's laptop, so you do see my face. Okay.
So Cliff
We're the-
says, oh, go ahead, Nadia.
Yeah, we're the organization supporting from South County. The South Coast Chamber of Commerce submitted a letter and spoke, I believe, in favor, but most of the letters that I read at least said like were more from business owners and residents in Orchid and that kind of thing, but
And I would agree. It struck me that the South Coast Chamber submitted a whole report that had one page out of 10 or 12 pages was about how Solomon Hills was the solution to the county's housing problem.
Mhm.
And they're South Coast. And so this is the solution. So people are gonna live here and drive 50 miles to their jobs. So
Can you hear me now?
yeah,
Yeah.
so that
Yeah.
was, yeah, it can. So that was
Switch
troubling.
Switch
was-
my mic. And the reason why I ask is, I shared with several of you pretty much an ad from the South County Chamber of Commerce talking about how great this project was. And I just thought it was interesting that the South County is really behind this, looking at this as a solution for the housing issues in Santa Barbara and Goleta and South County. Put a lot of people on the road.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, that's true. The Chamber of Commerce, I don't feel like I often agree with what they have to say, but
I would say, especially in the case of the South County Chamber, saying this is a good thing.
Me no likey.
But
No likey.
but the
I
North,
want my land. What God's green earth, people? This is driving me nuts. 4,000 units. Come on. Sorry.
the comments from the Santa Maria Valley Chamber of Commerce made more sense to me. I'm not saying I completely agree with them because we don't agree necessarily with this project or not. We'll wait and see. Now we'll see the reports. It's initiated. We'll see the reports. We'll study it. And in some years, we'll still all be here and we'll all be reading it, or our successors will be, because it might be a long time coming. But anyway, the North County Chamber comments were made more sense, or they were reasonable. The other one, it was not reasonable. So you're coming from South County saying we should do this up here so you can have a place for people to live that are going to work in Goleta and Santa Barbara.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, and I'll just say one more thing, which is we were talking to the mayor of Carpinteria about a different project, but he was mentioning this idea that inclusionary ordinances of building some affordable housing and some not really actually can have the opposite effect of creating more of a demand for affordable housing. And I was thinking about that with this project because they do have a decent amount of units that will be affordable, or so they say, but they're also going to have a post office and grocery stores and a school and restaurants and everything else and buses and whatever. And all of those jobs are lower wage jobs, which will require lower cost housing. So if you don't build enough for those jobs, then you just have the same problem again. So it really would need to be a very significant number of affordable units for it to make sense as a solution to the housing crisis. So yeah, that's something to consider, a little bit like wonky to think about, but yeah. Sorry, Jeannie, I think you were going to say something.
Oh, I just wanted to say, this is so early in the process that we don't know where it's going to go. But it is a huge thing. And so we've got to pay close attention and give input. And it might not happen at all. I guess there's been a couple of other project proposals years ago for this site, but it's even hard to grasp how many units would be there, and that this would be like a planned community. Like, I don't even know if we should compare it to other planned communities or not, but I don't know. I don't have an opinion on it yet. I think there might be some good things about it. I think there can be some things that are not good. And it's just hard to think about, a whole new community. But the things to think about, we do need more housing, and what's the best way to plan for it. And I think the one thing at that meeting was that they really didn't get into was how many units are still available to develop in the key sites in Orchid. Because one of the things we were saying is, well, you need so many housing units, and the key sites are already being developed. Well, how much are they being developed, and what's still the capacity there? Because I don't know if they can make the argument that this has to be part of meeting the state's demand for more units. But I think it's interesting. I don't have an opinion one way or the other. I just think we need to be on top of it and see what's going on, give input.
Yeah.
The county, in the county planning staff's analysis for the housing element, they didn't include this project as part of that. They also didn't include all the prime ag land on either side of Santa Maria. So this is very long term. In 8 years, the next housing element cycle, this will be in the mix. I would expect. It's not going to go forward really fast. But it's interesting.
Okay, we only have a few minutes left. And we have the Richards Ranch item as our last item. And then I want to leave a little bit of time for other updates from people. So there's not so much to say about this one. The comments were due to the city on Wednesday or on Tuesday. And SBCAN submitted comments saying that we wanted to see the site remain in the county and be developed under the county jurisdiction. And LAFCO had a study session on this topic on March 2nd. And I know a lot of you were there. They didn't make any kind of decisions. They were just hearing a staff report and then comments from the developer and comments from the community. But Yeah, I don't know. Does anyone have anything they want to say about this one? I know, Ken, you were there at that meeting as well.
And I was there, and thank you that you covered it very well. And the only thing is that our board actually told us we should do what we could to make sure this stays in the county jurisdiction. So we did what we could in this letter that we wrote and in the comments that I made at the LAFCO hearing. But it's not up at this point, it's not up to LAFCO, it's up to the city to decide what they're going to do next. And Nadia wrote a letter and I signed it to them. And it concludes, we believe these parcels should not be annexed into the city. And I know there's 3 of you sitting there that have had a lot of comments about this. So
Oh yeah, go ahead, Pam.
Yeah, my multi-page comments said the same thing. I just wanted to let people know that if they are interested in this particular issue, there is an ongoing group meeting and emailing daily. And we're going to be meeting next week just to lay out strategy for every step of the way as it moves through the various steps that this would have to take to get approved. So I think you all probably have my email. If anyone's interested in joining the group, just let Cliff or I or Sarah know, and we'll get you hooked in.
thank you.
Oh, also, never thought these words would come out of my mouth, but 3 cheers for our supervisor, Bob Nelson, who, and so Das Williams, who is one of the official county representative, stepped down so that Bob Nelson, who is an alternate on the LAFCO, could speak. And he was great, just kind of walking that line between I'm the supervisor and I'm now on LAFCO discussing this issue. But he really stood up for Orchid, and I thought he made some really good points and went as far as he can at this point. So I appreciate his support on this issue and trying to keep it in the county. And also for Hope Village that went through. Another big win.
Yes, we also submitted a letter in support of that too. So that was great. Yeah, I feel like it's always good when you do find yourself on the same side of an issue as people sometimes you butt heads with, that it's always good to really try to play those things up, and sort of bank that support for the future. I don't know if it makes a difference really, but
no, I think it does, because I want to build a relationship, and so I have sent him thank you emails, and just say yay, we're on the same side this time.
Yeah.
How can I help you?
Well, and I think what's exciting is to see for when we went to, with Pam, Cliff and I went to the one at the Oasis Center. I was so surprised at the turnout of the community members who came out to talk and to listen and to participate, because sometimes we're not always that lucky. And I should say fortunate, because luck doesn't have anything to do with it. It's people who are really concerned about their community. And I want this little island to stay in the county. There isn't any reason. And now with this article that they just posted in the Santa Barbara Independent about a contamination down at the airport, I don't know. I put the link in the chat. So it's something for you guys the Independent puts, and the Newshawk are seemingly on the trail of a lot of things these days. But back to Richard's Ranch, it's just, it doesn't make any sense. And the amount of time I've spent going up and down that road, and I've paid attention, it is so narrow where Orchid Road is. That doesn't deserve development until they can figure something out. Alan, you're next.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you say that. I didn't actually know about this article, and so I'm sure I'll be upset when I read it in the next few minutes here. I know that I think the wastewater treatment of Orchid also had dumped out untreated wastewater during the flooding the past few months, and so yeah, I mean, again, you know, compared to the flooding that is still ongoing of the ag lands, I really wonder how the just different industries of ag and wastewater are handling all of this. Because I know with the Clean Water Act, they have to be submitting permits basically for every additional pollution that they're doing, right? I mean, all of it is permitted. And so I just wonder, and especially now with this article about the airport that I didn't know about, just, yeah, to what extent the pollution is ongoing, yeah, my point was different, that is upsetting. But my point was actually to talk about Earth Day. I know North County will be having a few Earth Day events. Me and a few others will be at the Santa Ynez Shumash Earth Day tabling for Community Environmental Council. CEC also holds an Earth Day on April 29th and 30th, I think, of next month in Santa Barbara. They'll be holding a lot of events. But one of the events is a climate action panel. And so I basically was hoping to maybe ask a representative from SBCAN to join the panel, specifically to talk about and highlight North County and the environmental justice organizing and activism that we've done and are doing. Right now, I think we're looking for one representative. I've already asked Cristina Hernandez, as well as Patricia Solorio, since she is a Casmalia native, to talk about the Superfund site, and just to talk about the dune system, restoration. The goal is really to talk about oil and water, and I know SBCAN alongside the EDC has done a lot of work on oil, and so I didn't know if someone like Jeannie or Ken wanted to volunteer, but if you were busy that day, you know, maybe someone else could also volunteer.
So I just talked with Ken about it. He's now here in my office because my laptop that he was using crashed. I don't know what it is today, and I'm trying to get it so that you can see him, but I've got to get rid of.
You don't want to see me.
He says we don't want to see him. I got to get rid of this screen. I don't know how to do that. I mean, I'm not getting the thing. Anyway, for Ken has really been involved in these oil issues and the water issues, so probably he's going to be the best person for that. I'd be excited to talk about our new water project, but it's so new. We don't really have anything to talk about, and Ken can talk about what we are starting. So I'm volunteering him. I'm thinking he's probably the best person, and I don't think he disagreed. You want to say anything, Ken?
I didn't disagree.
Could you hear him?
No, I don't disagree.
We can hear you.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Yeah, well, thank you. I mean, again, this is really great, and this is just a heads up for you folks. Obviously, you know, North County sometimes doesn't get the spotlight, and I also don't want this to be a big ask for everyone. And so this will just be a light panel, really just to highlight the work that you've already done and the work that we're doing right now. And so, yeah, I'll send you follow-up questions, Ken. It'll be on Saturday, but again, I just wanted to give everyone a heads up.
Can you say the dates again one more time?
Yeah, it's gonna be, let me get my mouse here. It's gonna be April 29th and 30th.
Okay.
So Saturday and Sunday. So this panel will be on Saturday. And so again, you know, North County is rarely highlighted sometimes, and so I'm just really excited to get a group of folks talking about the work that has been already done here for the past few decades. So
Did you say there was going to be something in North County as well, or there's just something happening in Santa Barbara?
not from CEC. I think there's a few other organizers that are organizing Earth Days throughout the month. But CEC is organizing the Earth Day in Santa Barbara on April 28th and 29th and 30th.
Oh, okay.
But there's a few like the Shumash Earth Day. Also, but nothing's we're not doing anything then besides being that.
Okay,
Where is the term Chumash Earth Day?
Sorry?
what was that, Sarah?
Where was the church? Where's the Chumash Earth Day being held?
I think it's being held in Santa Ynez, and I don't know the exact location, but I think that's the band that's organizing.
I think they're at their meeting hall, right?
I'll say.
Yo no sé. Okay, well, we are past 6:30 now. I feel like I often think that meetings will be shorter than they are, but if anyone has any very quick last minute things they want to share with the group, otherwise we'll let you go. Yeah, go ahead, Ana Rosa.
March 18th at 10 a.m. There is going to be an event at Plaza Park in Oxnard commemorating the 120th anniversary of the Mexican-Japanese beat worker strike. So if you want to check that out, that should be a really good event. You know, I know it's a little bit of a trek, but carpool never hurt anybody.
Where in Oxnard is it?
It's called Plaza Park, so that's in downtown Oxnard.
Okay, great. Plaza Park. Yeah, Cliff.
I just wanted to real quickly mention there is another large project that's happening, the conversion of the Phallus building into the Heritage Walk condos. I've tried to stay on top of that because I'm a part of the Methodist Church. The Board of Trustees of the Methodist Church is also is kind of taken over. There are discussions between the church and the city to make sure there's plenty of parking. But I'm trying to stay on top of the development of the 104 loft condos that are going to be put into that building. So anyway, I wanted to mention that. That's taken up a bit of my time.
Great, Cliff. Yeah, I've been seeing that in the news, but haven't been able to stay super on top of it. All right, anyone else? Okay, great. Well, thank you all so much. Happy Thursday. And next month, when we end, it will still be light out because the time will change this week. So looking forward to that. Okay, thanks so much, everyone.
Okay.
Thank you. Good night.
When's South County's roundtable?
South County Roundtable will be on the 24th. Is that
Okay.
right? Yeah, 24th.
All right.
Okay, see you then, Sarah. Bye.
And don't forget to get your nominations in.
Yes. Oh, I totally forgot to say that.
Anyway,
There's
I'll talk to you
Kimberly.
later.
Thanks.
Bye, guys. Ana
Okay.
Rosa, good to see you.
Good to
Hear
see you too.
Thanks for coming, Ana Rosa.
No problem. Have a good evening.
All right, bye.
Okay, do we
Anything
need to talk
else?
about anything?
No, oh, I really did mean to say that about the nomination form though, but
I didn't even think of it either.
yeah,
So there's Ken hiding over there in the background.
So
it's so
our
dark.
apparently our housemate is in the ER. She took a fall.
Oh, no.
So that's, I kind of, also the computer crashed, but then I'm down here and reading about this, trying to
Oh,
write to her son to say whatever we can do. And that was it.
So
3
she's
hours.
not staying with you anymore?
Yeah, she is. I'd be worried right now that she's not home yet because I've got I know what I'm making for dinner, and she comes out at 7:05
Or at 6:45,
or
but
6:45 to get a glass of wine and 7, but we eat anyway.
but she
so
usually
she's-
comes home before this.
Yeah, she'd
so-
have been home a long time ago, so.
Oh, so she didn't fall at home. She fell out on the street or
She
something?
fell somewhere else.
Yeah, she
Her
didn't
son
fall
took-
here.
Her son took her to the ER, and she's okay.
Okay.
But anyway, that's
Oh, that's too
Okay.
bad.
it became my focus, because when somebody lives with you, that's what you focus on, so. I'm gonna see if there's anything. He hasn't written back, so I guess
Yeah.
it's not at the moment to do, just be ready.
Okay,
So thank you for sharing the meeting.
sure. Yeah, something is in the air today, it seems.
Everything's crashing.
It's like, that is weird.
Okay,